Hi guys, I'm Lin Bridgeford and I'm really excited to be here today. I'm starting to do some YouTube videos and I want to share things about my journey in life. And my job is to help people feel better, and that's doing many different things: singing, dancing, therapy, eating well, having fun, nothing too serious, but it's all about living, loving and being happy. I do lots of different things. I believe that there's never one thing that's enough to help somebody, so I work with an integration of things with my patients. So my basic official training is as an osteopath, and even in that there's many different things. There's structural, there's visceral, working with the organs, there's cranial, which is not just working with the head, it's a way of working inside the body where you can reach places that you can't really touch. It all sounds a bit weird to explain, but it works. And my youngest patient is 2 minutes old, my oldest is in their 90s. I work differently with every patient. I do a number of different things. I might use kinesiology as a diagnostic tool. They may need some nutritional advice, they may need to lose weight, they may need to do exercise or come to my yoga class or do rehab. I can never remember everything I do. Sometimes there would be sound therapy if there's something needs changing in the energy, or colour therapy. A lot of things just happen naturally that I integrate without actually setting out to do a session in them, like NLP and hypnotherapy. They just intertwine in everything I do. So it's a mixture of what suits the person, so it's quite individual. There is a saying, jack of all trades and master of none. I've been working with many different therapies and healing methodologies for many, many years. Starting back when I was a child, I studied nutrition. I was a dancer and we got put on stupid diets, so to be healthy I needed to study how to eat well and what remedies to take. I was very blessed to be invited to a healing group by my guitar teacher when I was 14. I thought nothing of this at the time, but it was actually an amazing introduction to the world of spiritual energies and unseen things that happen, which I have understood further later in life. I've been in practice for 33 years. 33 years is quite a long time. And I've had the opportunity to study and compare many different healing methodologies and to find what works of those for me and my patients. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the therapies I do and a little bit of a snapshot of information about each of them. So osteopathy is a holistic system of working with the body. Osteo's bone, so it's really about treating the structure originally. But actually, if you go more originally, Andrew Taylor Still, who was the founder, looked at working with the whole body. He worked with the organs, with the nervous system, with the structure, with the emotions, with everything. So that's the kind of osteopathy I like to do, is incorporating cranial, visceral, structural, the whole person, the psyche and the emotions. The kind of yoga I teach is Ashtanga Vinyasa yoga, though I teach it in a more traditional way, which is gently, slowly, and at the pace of the student. So the main thing is the breath. Number one thing is the breath. The number two thing is holding locks in the body. The number three thing is a gaze point. There's always somewhere to look that helps focus and it helps keep a good alignment. The fourth thing is the postures. It's done in a sequence, moving with the breath. And I think it's a very beautiful sequence that can be adapted to suit anybody. You can modify every posture. Pranayama. Prana is the life force, and that's talking about breathing, but proper breathing. Now, I use breathing in my therapy as well as in yoga. I do run breathing classes. It's really about being aware of the breath and mastering it. There are many, many techniques and systems and methods of breathing that you can do quite detailed on ashrams and on retreats. The basis of breathing is really connecting with the lungs and how you breathe, and empowering yourself to breathe better by having that knowledge and relaxing into it and watching what the body already does naturally. We've just kind of forgotten, so we need to help it. I use kinesiology as a diagnostic tool. It's a great way to be able to have a conversation with somebody's body. By testing the muscle responses, we can see what's going on in the nervous system. The nerves come out of the spine, they feed muscles, they feed organs. We know things about the body from where the nerves come out of the base of the skull and what influence they have. So By knowing the anatomy, physiology and what happens in the body, when we use the structure to test with kinesiology, it gives us a wonderful way to know what's happening with somebody's body. Why is one person's back pain happening related to a certain muscle, and yet somebody else's would be related to some other muscle, which I can't always see by looking at them, but by testing them the body gives the answer. It's really powerful to have that individual knowledge. Plus we can test the nervous system, we can test related to substances introduced into the system, into the body. Just about anything that you introduce into your field you can test with kinesiology. I was attracted to NLP for many, many years, and it was only when I found some teachers who were really looking at the positive growth and development side of it that I decided to study with them. And I found it fascinating to look at what we do with our thoughts and how it can influence our body and how we can work with that to make things different in the energy and in our being. I went on to study hypnotherapy, and it's almost like another arm to looking at what's going on with the being and talking to the unconscious mind. I don't usually do sessions that are just NLP or just hypnotherapy. I use them in a treatment in the way I'm communicating with someone. It's really about having very clear communication in what I say and listening to what the person says. It's also, the hypnosis is very much like in yoga relaxation, yoga nidra. It's a way of calming somebody down and talking to them and getting the best out of them. It's difficult to know how to start talking about spiritual psychotherapy without it sounding weird and to do it justice. I studied with an osteopath called Peter Goldman about the work of Ronald Beasley, who was a man whose sensitivity was opened up after the war. And he swore that if he could get help, he would help other people to deal with their sensitivities. So spiritual psychotherapy is looking at the experience of being in a human body. And that's different for everybody, but looking at energies, looking at chakras, looking at how we are in life, looking at past lives, if that's something that works with someone. We don't need to look at or name everything, but it's really just looking about how to feel, how to be a sensitive person living in a less than sensitive world. Again, this is something that I don't necessarily say I'm doing. It's not a therapy, but it has given me a lot of wisdom and knowledge to know how to approach people and how to help them and what they're going through and sensing what's happening. I don't think about it, I just get a sense and I will ask someone if that makes sense and they go, how did you know? And it's lovely to be in tune with that. Alongside that, I studied with Peter also sound therapy. I did a very complicated type of sound therapy with a musician and acupuncturist way back in time. And it was fascinating, but very complex to use. And when I discovered the therapy that Peter does, it's really using the natural intuition of sound. So using tuning forks to see what's happening in the body. The body gives the reference point through the sound when you pass the forks over the body. This will be explained in more detail in another video. Colour therapy was another aspect from spiritual psychotherapy with Pamela Blake Wilson, who's written wonderful books on colour as adventure stories for kids. I don't set out to do colour therapy. It just happens. People tell me they see colours when I work with them or when I adjust them in yoga. So I guess some of that study just works without having to do it, and I think that's beautiful. I first studied acupressure with a wonderful man in Zimbabwe called Alfred Cuddington. It bust my brain, but it was so interesting. And that was lovely to work with. Now I'm aware of the acupuncture points and I will use that awareness when I have my hands on people. What I do those with needles, I use what's called dry needling or Western medical acupuncture, often to release tensions in the structure. And it's still lovely to have the information of where the points are from my previous training. What we put into our bodies is really important. And that could be what we absorb from the atmosphere, what we eat, what we absorb from our food, the energies, everything that goes into our body has an impact. So to work with that, I do work with applied kinesiology to look at the biochemical aspects in the body of what's happening if there are toxic issues. And let's face it, we're living in a toxic soup. So to do the best we can to neutralize that or avoid it is crucial to be healthy. It's not all about being perfect or being completely straight in the die. It's about finding what we can do to change our habits, change what we eat, what we take into our life, in our environment. So looking at nutrition, looking at food, looking at functional biochemistry, in other words, how the chemistry works in our bodies. That could be hormones. Sometimes it's the processes inside the body create worse toxins than we get from the outside. So using functional medicine and kinesiology is a great way to look at that and help people on an individual basis. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I'm really excited about seeing you on future videos and sharing more information. Please subscribe if you'd like to, link, do all the normal things. See you next time.